Museum. It's a beautiful day. I've got my ticket, so let's head inside and explore. Our first work of art is called The Gates of Paradise by Lorenzo Ghiberti, created over 500 years ago. Look closely, it is revered for its masterful storytelling, a figure in space. It is absolutely breathtaking and huge. Could you imagine if that was your front door? Our next work of art, if you look closely, can you believe it? It's actually recycled bottle caps. They've been flattened and stitched together using copper wire. It's amazing and huge. It takes up a whole wall. Wow, I can't imagine the time it took to make this. The artist is still alive. El Anotsui, born in Ghana, lives and works in Nigeria. Now we're moving on to European art. This is Olive Trees by Vincent van Gogh. I love it. But the really cool thing about it, and the reason I'm showing it to you, is a conservator, that's someone who takes care of the artwork, did an x-ray of this painting and found a grasshopper in it. How is that possible? It was painted in 1889. Well, guess what? Vincent van Gogh painted outdoors. And he didn't care what got in his way, even a grasshopper. And it's still there to this day. You can't see it, but it's down in the bottom left-hand corner. Pretty cool. Another famous European artist is named Claude Monet. From far away, these look like people on the street. But when we get up close, they will just be blurs of paint. That is what's so cool about the Impressionists. From far away, it looks realistic, but you get up close and you can't tell what it is. It's a trick on your eyes. It's a trick using color. And it is so hard to learn and master. That's why they are famous. One of Van Gogh and Monet's friends was Edgar Degas. This is his bronze sculpture of The Dancer, aged 14. In case you didn't already know, this is Claude Monet's water lilies. In 1893, Claude Monet bought land across from his property in Giverny, France, dug a pond, turned it into a Japanese-inspired water garden. This contemplative environment served as inspiration for a series of paintings that occupied Monet's artistic production from 1901 until his death in 1926. Typical of his other paintings dedicated to the water lily pond, the subject here is not so much the flowers, but the dreamlike effects produced by light reflecting off this liquid world. Now, what you don't know by looking at this is that there are 3 panels, and 3 different art museums own each one. Could you imagine all 3 of those put together? Amazing. You can even find Claude Monet's products in the gift shop. Izzy, show 'em. It's a little music box. Are you guys ready for this? We're gonna go see the mummy. Come on. So the first thing we're gonna see is the outer coffin, then the inner coffin, then the actual mummy, and on to the gifts he was left in the afterlife. This is the outer shell of a mummy's sarcophagus. And then the inner coffin. Here it is, folks. A real life mummy. Little is known about this mummy other than it is a man between 45 and 55 years old and about 5 feet 5 inches tall. Now, how did they preserve their mummy so well? Well, it took a lot of salt, took a lot of linen, and the entire process took about 70 days, and that is why the body is preserved for thousands of years. Now, what helps it survive into the afterlife? These trinkets. These jade army figures would protect it in the afterlife. This place is huge. Huge. What do you think, Izzy? Do you want to go get a snack? Fancy. Isn't this beautiful? This is called Roselle Court. You can come in here and eat. They have great food. Let's move on. I know you've seen armor for a man, but armor for a horse? 1565. Sets of matching armor for man and horse, such as this, were only for the very wealthy and the aristocrats. Okay, anyone who's been to the Nelson-Atkins with me knows I always tell you to stop upstairs and check out this display. Ancient cricket houses. Like what? In ancient China, only the most wealthy, that means rich, kept crickets in cages for fighting. And they would bet against them. Yep, that's right, cricket gambling. Crazy! So cool. I just found this so fascinating. I love looking at all their little houses and their little food and water bowls. You have to go upstairs and check it out. Are you guys ready to see something really cool? Let's go. Check it out. Ancient Buddha. This is the figure of Amida Buddha. Amida, the Buddha of infinite light, is the personification of eternal life and vast compassion. Amida is one of the most popular representations of the Buddha in Japan, and all who call out his name are welcome into his Western paradise, or Pure Land. Let's move on to Indian artwork. Let's check out this very old clay pot from 1770. Now, I know they got their clay from the same place that we get our clay, the ground, but they don't have an electric kiln like we do. How on earth did this get fired? And how on earth did this get glazed? That's what makes it so amazing, that it's survived all these years intact, and it still looks great. Our next piece is a necklace made up of jade and marble birds. Could you guess how many birds are on this necklace? Did you guess 600? You'd be right. Whoa, every time I turn the corner I think this is a real museum guard. But guys, it's not. It's a polyester fiberglass oil and vinyl sculpture by Dwayne Hansen, made in 1975. His sculpture depicts the face of contemporary America with startling realism. Startling is right. Museum Guard wears a badge and uniform like those worn by security officers at the Nelson-Atkins Museum of Art in the early 1970s. Like them, he stands watchful in the gallery. Our next work of art is called Jawbreaker Machine, painted in 1963 by Wayne Thiebaud. Wayne Thiebaud's distinctive still life paintings of commonplace objects, toys, and food are inspired by his childhood memories of time spent on the boardwalk in Long Beach, California. I love using his artwork as examples in art class when we are painting food and everyday objects in contemporary art. This is one of my favorite paintings from Kehinde Wiley. He's my age. I think that's so cool. This is a quote from him. My works quote historical sources and position young black men within the field of power. He's an admirer of historical paintings in museums, but Kehinde Wiley was struck that as a black man, he was unable to see a reflection of myself in that world. Thus, he set about to make a change. His works reimagined famous paintings, substituting a contemporary African American man or woman for the traditional white figure. Such images challenge viewers to think about the dynamics of status, race, and representation. My next painting is called Memento No. 5 by Kerry James Marshall. It was painted in 2003 using acrylic and glitter. Memento No. 5 is the final painting in Chicago-based artist Kerry James Marshall's Memento series, analogy to the civil rights movement. The monochromatic painting depicts a black angel standing at the center of a living room. Solemnly, the figure draws closely a glittery silver curtain, symbolically concluding a decade of peaceful civil disobedience, courageous marches, visionary speeches, righteous legislation, explosive riots, and tragic deaths. Behind the angel, at left and right, are the faces of President John F. Kennedy, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., and Malcolm X. Each year of the decade appears between the glitter strands, and fragments of the word remember are also visible. At the bottom, Marshall has written, "What a time. What a time." Last but not least, I have Ivan Navarro's Untitled? Really, that's what it says on the wall, Untitled. Yeah, whatever. So this sculpture is really just a mirror with a neon light in front of it. And what happens? It creates an infinite void. The shape represents the combined floor plans of the Block and Nelson-Atkins buildings and symbolizes the museum as a whole. Navarro's sculpture alludes to the museum's collection and how the Nelson-Atkins engages the community through art and architecture, a place where people gather to contemplate the innovations and achievements of artists across the globe. Ivan Navarro, I couldn't agree more. Thanks for joining me today at the Nelson-Atkins Art Museum. I hope you enjoyed as much as I do, and you never know who you might run into.